showing
Ali, 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 yeah. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for His blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for His blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for His blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for His blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for His blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for His blessings. Ali was the circle 7.
Islam, Islam, Islam. Moorish America want to rise upon the 7 and give all praises to the great God Allah, Father God Allah, and honors to His holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. We give honors to our Moorish kin once again, here, there, and everywhere, and therefore honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. And at this time, want to call forth our beloved Consul General of the Texas Territory, Dr. Marvin Nathaniel Edwards Bey, as he opened up the way. Islam, or as we say, apology too, because look like we got some sluggishness going on with this system. But I'm closing out a few pages up here. Mashallah. And all will be well. Gratitude. Brother Marvin Edwards Bey, you can come forth now.
Gratitude. Can you hear me good? Islam?
Oh, yeah, we hear you, brother.
Yes, sir. Okay, gratitude. Arising, giving all praise to the great God Allah, giving high honor to His prophet, our prophet Noble Drew Ali, El Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali. Give high honor to our theocratic government, our Moorish American government. Give high honor to our Act 1. I give high honor to all of our officials. I give high honor to this class, our Adeptus Research Sultanate class. As well as I give honors to you, Dr. Shedu Amenti Al-Muhaji Sepswell, for hosting and instructing this powerful class. I give honor to all those that aided. I give honor to everything that is Moorish. Our flag, our seal, our emblem, the divine constitution, our holy Quran, our book of Ali, our 101s, 102s, our exhuman of a nation, all of our divine revelations. And I will begin with our Moorish American connecting adept prayer. Ya Allah abnu heru meku neteru. Ya Allah abheteru. Ya Allah ma'atheru. Ya Allah hoteperu. Ya Allah heru. Ya Allah ma'at herkuti. Ya Allah awajet dejuti. Ya Allah pertem sutek. Pertem heru. Ya Allah bamaduti. Elahezis way up to Ali. Amen. Hallelujah. 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 In transliteration, O Allah, the Father of the universe, O Allah, the Father of love, O Allah, the Spirit of truth, O Allah, the Spirit of peace, Oh Allah, the spirit of freedom. Oh Allah, the spirit of justice. Oh Allah, you are my protector. Oh Allah, you are my guide. Oh Allah, you are my salvation by night and by day. Oh Allah, through your holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. Holy Yasa, Holy Yasa, Holy Yasa. And now I will begin with our divine constitution of Morris America. Salvation, our God, unity. The divine constitution of Morris America. Act 1. The Grand Sheik and the chairman of Morris America are empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the grand body of Morris America. The assistant Grand Sheik is to assist the Grand Sheik in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known for the citizens of Morris America. The bylaws. Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly, according to the Circle 7, and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest, because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh, and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all citizens of North America. No citizen is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister because Allah is love. Act 4. All citizens must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all citizens must obey the laws of the government. Because by being a Morris American, you are a part and parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. No organization of Morris American is to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all citizens must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and a parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Ali the prophet to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All citizens must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and a parcel of all uplifting acts of Moorish America. Moorish Americans must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of Moorish America. And then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All North Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Ali, through the divine guidance of his Father God Allah. Prophet Noble Ali, peace and blessings be upon him, founding father and frame of the divine constitution and bylaws of North America. Now this meeting has been opened according to Act 2 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And I will turn the meeting over to our goddess and queen, Dr. Dendra Ania Curtis Bay, our Grand National Secretary of the State of South Carolina. Islam.
Islam, God man. Islam. I am Dr. Dendra Nee Kurta Bay. But first, let me rise and give praises to our great God Allah. I give honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to Act 1. I give honors to all my government officials, and I give honors to our national assistant grand sheik for this E.A.R.S class this morning. And I also give honors to our Council General of Texas, Dr. Marvin Edwards Bay, for opening us up according to law and reading our bylaws and constitution. And I will be reading our chapter of the week, chapter 46, coming from our Holy Quran. And it reads, Holy instructions for thy children. Consider thou art a parent, the importance of thy trust, the being thou hast produced. It is thy duty to support. Upon thee also it dependeth whether the child of thy bosom be a blessing or a curse to thyself, a useful or a worthless member to the community. Prepare him early with instruction and season his mind with the maxim of truth. Watch the bit of his inclination, set him right in his youth, and let no evil habits gain strength with his years. So shall he rise like a cedar on the mountains. His head shall be seen above the trees of the forest. A wicked son is a reproach to his father, but he that doeth right is an honor to his gray hairs. The soil is thine own. Let it not want cultivation. The seed which thou sowest, that also shalt thou reap. Teach him obedience, and he shall bless thee. Teach him modesty, and he shall not be ashamed. Teach him gratitude, and he shall receive benefits. Teach him charity, and he shall gain love. Teach him temperance, and he shall have health. Teach him prudence, and fortune shall attend him. Teach him justice, and he shall be honored by the world. Teach him sincerity, and his own heart shall not reproach him. Teach him diligence, and his wealth shall increase. Teach him benevolence, and his mind shall be exalted. Teach him science, and his life shall be useful. Teach him religion, and his death shall be happy. Islam, Islam, Islam. I will now turn everything back over to our National Assistant Grand Sheik, Dr. Sadua Miti El Maheji Sepsuel. Are you there, National Assistant Grand Sheik?
Islamism. Can you hear me, sis?
Islam, I can hear you well.
Gratitude. Islam, 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 Moorish America. Once again, we want to rise upon the seven and give all praises to the great God Allah, within our higher consciousness, and honors to his holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, honors to the ancestors, honors to all of us on the manifest who are the return of the ancient ones. We came back around, Moorish Ken, and want to give honors to all of our family out there, honors to our good brother, Human Thought, brother or sister, because we don't know the gender of our family, but we know the spirit has no gender. So honors to Human Thought, family, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice indeed is on the manifest. We got a grand drawing to bring forth this morning. As we know, we have the Skillful Scribes on the manifest, and it's a lot that we want to bring to our Moorish kin to enlighten them and uplift them and elevate them in their consciousness when it comes to dealing with the language of our ancestors. But we always like to start on re-entering a new subject by coming forth with the exhuming of a nation. So we want to call on our family to actually read from the Book of Fire. And I actually want to start at page 204, and we can actually go all the way over to which page that was, 208. Yeah, 208. 204 to 208. Actually, 209 will be good to end it there.
Islam.
Gratitude, Grand National Secretary of the State. Islamism. And we can have you start, Grand Secretary of the State, at 204 and then go to page 206. above where it says, so who are the Moorish?
Islam, gratitude.
And then our brother Bati Bey, you can start there on page 206 on who are the Moorish. And you can actually go over to the page 209.
Islam.
Yes, sir. And then we won't, actually, we can go to 210 because that'll be a good closeout right there. And we can have another more read that. That would actually end at 211 too, before it go on who are the Jamaicans above that. Islam.
Islam.
Sister
You,
Bay.
yeah, you saying start where it says the Moorish nations are not Ethiopians?
You can actually start at the top where it say today the descendants, then go into that because we'll let Bati Bay finish it off at 209.
Okay, you want me to stop where?
At the top of page 210.
At, at the
You
top.
stop at 210 and you start at 210 par itself and stop at 211 above who are the Jamaicans.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Mhm.
Islam.
So Islamism. I just wanted to put it together, and when I take these sections, they pretty much fit right into what we demonstrating a lot of time. So, and it gives our family some background too, coming from the Book of Fight. So Islam. So okay, Grand National Secretary of the State, you got it, Goddess and Queen.
Gratitude. Islam Moorish Ken, first of all, I want to rise, giving all praises to our Father God Allah, giving honor to our Prophet, Noble Jura Ali, giving honor to our ears class, giving honor to our panel, to all those that open up our meeting according to law, and to our host, our National Assistant Grand Sheikh of Moorish American, giving honor to our family online at Act 1. Some attributes of the Moorish Americans. A Moorish American's strength is in their ability to love instead of hate and knowing their higher self, parentheses, God self, and lower selves. Their science is reliance upon Allah and knowledge of history. Upright, independent, and fearless. Honors the divine guidance of their government and the flag of their ancient forefathers. They and their children can receive their rights unmolested by other citizens. Among these are the right to cast their free national ballot at the polls and not under a granted privilege, as has been the existing condition for many generations, to be able to have true wealth as a nation. Noble Jura Ali. Moorish Americans are the only true answer to the year 2007's fourth congressional approval for the unconstitutional quote unquote black voters' rights. Moorish American is the divine and ultimate answer to the Negro, black, and colored problem. Moorish American is the seal of identities to the descendants of Africans born in America. They are the abolishment of interchangeable slave labels and nicknames. They are the keys of self-consciousness to the locks of mental slavery which exists now. Moorish American is the return of the Moor man as gods, where they can reign as brothers, fathers, husbands, and leaders, ending the quote-unquote stud role whose total dominion is confined to the bedroom as sperm banks. Moorish Americans have no earthly strings attached where they can be puppeteered by the wills of carnal men. Moorish Americans love the earth because it is their home, mother, and their gift from Allah. Moorish Americans are the embodiment and soul returning of the ancient ones, for they are the incarnation of the Atlanteans. Ironically, the European echelon has been aware of this universal inheritance of the Moorish for many centuries, but it is not in their best interest to disclose the existence of Allah, the great God that rests dormant in the center of them. Moorish American is the answer to all global problems of the nations who are seeking peace, for there is but one way peace will be obtained, and that way is through them and the grand principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Being Moorish American will give the option offered to all other nationalities, the option to change citizenship parentheses, it is not possible to change one's nationality. If a Moorish American elects to become a citizen of the United States or Egypt, etc., the choice is for the conscious. However, one must have a national citizenship to exchange for any other citizenship, be it a dual citizenship or exchange. Some governments require definite denunciation of former citizenship prior to officiating into their own. The Moorish Americans are the fallen sons and daughters of America whom are tired of being sick and tired. After all, Subhanallah Moors, and after having read this book, will seek to proclaim their nationality, hence forming the prophesied new, clean, and pure nation. They will put their feet in these shoes of former Masonic slaveholders, example given, Jefferson and Washington et al., to see if these words, quote, one day they, parentheses, the Moors, will rise from the dust, end quote, will come to fruition with the words of the Holy Prophet in this new era of time now. Act 6 of the Divine Constitution and Bylaws. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and a parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali the Prophet to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. The Moorish Americans are the millions of groups of Asiatics in the churches, social, and political arenas throughout the U.S. They are temporarily blinded, segregated, and disunified apart from their one true self by ignorance and the competition of meaningless games and influences of oppression. Being Moorish American will eliminate the mute cries of manhood in the wilderness of, "You don't know me." Indeed, the makers of the black man has informed all other nations of the earth as to his production of a family-less black people. Notice he is so proud of his accomplished subjugation of the West African Moorish peoples until he freely welcomes all other nations to applaud his victory. But then, who best to know the puppet better than the puppeteer? Like so, who on earth would know the programmed mind of the Negro, black, and colored better than the European programmer? Obviously, anyone who builds a computer knows the range of its ability to depend upon the capacity of its memory. Therefore, when a nation does not remember the history of its strife and accomplishments, coupled with the ignorance of their present state, will be as reliant upon the wind as fresh pollen, or as the dog barking at its own reflections in a mirrored room. The importance of a proper status, parentheses, identification. Legally, one's proper status is what Noble Drew Ali defines as one free national name. No one can honestly deny that, as the label on the face of a product identifies its contents for the consumer, so a free national name, parentheses, nationality, identifies the total character of a nation. No one will see the value of an improperly named product. Like so, no real nation will invest a genuine trust in an improperly labeled people. Therefore, the improperly labeled children of Africa in America were made deliberately invisible for a reason. The making of the so-called Negro was no accident. In fact, the quote-unquote black people in the United States were over 1,500 years in the diagram of European rule. But the last surge of European world rule of the last 2,000 years could not have happened without two major pillars. Number one, the prophesied Antichrist of the Piscean age could not have taken place until after the advent of Yehoshua had become the Christ, proving the possibilities of man to master self and conquer death. And 2, the truth, parentheses, little light, of the ancient ones, the Moabites and tribes of Africa, tribesmen of Yehoshua, etc., must not be allowed to shine. Indeed, there are only one people who naturally specialize in distortion of the true identities and accomplishments of the African peoples, the pale-skinned nations of Europe. The case and point here is this: when the Illuminati or any world power is bold enough to alter the true nationality and God-likeness of Yehoshua, then take his accomplishments and compound them in their image and oppress these concepts under colorable government, is hard-hearted. Yet, for the denationalized Moorish people of North America, their own nationality is the last thing to be considered by them as an all-consuming necessity. For some obvious reason, so-called blacks cannot believe the same people who changed the identity of Yehoshua and also obscured their identity. See Freemasonry. The only thing a people can retain of their accomplishments is what they acquire under their own free national name. Blacks have no rights the citizens of nations are bound to respect. This is the backbone of reasons why quote-unquote blacks find themselves always begging for acceptance in the arenas of other nations' political, religious, and social endeavors. Without their true identity, they will never keep what is theirs and will never know freedom. Please make no doubt about it. The true identity of a thing advertises and dictates its contents and character. Blacks have always been chattel, but because they can think, the Negro does not realize that colored people were designed to be a thinking property from the very outset. As a product, even thinking property can only produce for others and never themselves. To identify a person as black is a political and inhumane misnomer. Nevertheless, as a man thinketh, so is he. It is just a matter of consciousness of his will, which determines whether his thoughts are confined to human knowledge or unfettered with infinite wisdom. Who are the Moorish? Who are the Americans? Who are the Moorish Americans? How did Moorish derive? The name Moorish derives from the root name Moor, which originated from the ancient Moabites of Lemuria. Mu, prior to Gondwanaland of the Great Pangaea. This is why the Moorish flag is over 100,000 years old, representing the Moorish gods of the first creation. Later, they formed a modern kingdom in the East African land of Moab. Moab was one of the first civilizations in the Holy Lands of Canaan. Moorish is the modern name for the descendants of those ancient Moabites and includes their descendant brethren, Canaanites, Hittites, and Amorites. Together and collectively, they formed themselves kingdoms and inhabited the northwest and southwest of the continent of Africa and were known as Hammetites for a long, long time. The Honorable Noble Drew Ali defines the Moorish best in the last sentence of Act 6 of his divine constitution and bylaws. The Moorish Americans are descendants of the ancient Moabites whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Author's note: if your recent 500-year ancestral lineage reflects your forefathers originated through this grand history, there is a very good possibility you were born into the free national name of Moorish American. Plurality. The suffix ish to the noun Moor, forming the name Moorish, legally broadens the indigenous native base to an all-encompassing state. Ish extends the life of a person, place, or thing beyond its center of origin. This suffix envelops all things and peoples, which pertains to its root noun. Ish means having the characteristics of, pertaining to, after the manner of, or a relative state of. Worldwide, the international community of nations, especially when referring to their citizens or national gifts, uses this powerful suffix. People are familiar with Polish, Irish, Swedish, or British, etc. Ish basically legitimizes or confirms the authentic and being a part and parcel of the root. The suffix family is also used by nations including the ANS, as in American, Jamaican, German, or Moroccan, etc. Also, the suffixes IAN, example given Iranian, ites, ITES, example given Moabite, Hamatites, etc., are used to serve the same national origin purposes as ish, example given Moorish. No suffix is used for the nationless Negroes, colored, or black people. Today, a Moroccan is classified as an African born in Morocco and is an existing citizen of Morocco, the country in extreme northwest Africa. It should be pointed out, with no prejudice intended, but a European born of European parents on any continent in the world is still a European, whereas the Moorish born anywhere on the planet becomes a part of that land. There are Europeans being born in African countries for centuries, but they are not true Afrikaans. Those who accidentally amalgamated with Africans automatically lose the autonomy of their pale skin lineage to the melanin of the sun kissed African gods forever. The nations of Europe would permanently lose their existence from the planet Earth within 2 generations of amalgamation with the pure blood of the Africans. Needful to say, it did not take long for the European explorers to find it would be self-genocidal to mix with people of color. This is the true foundation for today's skin game and racism. It was developed out of European fear of extinction. Islam. So at this time, we want to turn the meeting into the hands of our Consul General, Dr. Bati Bey. Islam.
Islam, Islam, Islam. First, I'd like to rise and give all man the praise to Allah, honor to the Prophet, honor to our theocratic government, our royal council, our flag, seal, emblem, our divine constitution, our swift angels, muftis, citizens alike, honors to all the Moors that are here in attendance, all the ones who have helped bring about this class, and honors to all the listeners that are listening. Islam. So, who are the Moorish Americans? The Moorish American, the Moorish are descendants of Moroccans through the inheritance of their ancient forefathers that sojourned westward across the continent of Africa from the Holy Land of Canaan. The Moorish are a multinational conglomerate of African people of the inherent state and character of West African Moors. The Moorish are the nations of people who are descendants from the tribes and nations of Northwest and Southwest Africa whose foreparents were brought to the Americas as slaves or were already natives here. For those who need an historical verification, Moorish is the true and lawful national descendant name of the African peoples freed from slavery in 1865 by the 13th Amendment of the United States, but did not proclaim their nationality. From 1779 to 1865, during the U.S. constitutional time of slavery, the Moorish were the 400-year era of the Moorish were denationalized and given the slave names of Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, Act 6. During the 400-year of chattel slavery, the Moorish Americans were either enslaved or escaped into the interiors of the Americas and adjoining islands northward to as far as present-day Canada, the Yukon, and Alaska, southward into Mexico, all of the Atlantic islands, and into the countries of South America. All of these and their parents and children born in these soils are Moorish. Why are the Moorish also Americans? Yes, the Americans are the inherent indigenous people whose forefathers are the founders and true possessors of the continent with the modern name America. There is no such place as ancient America. A maxim is its ancient name. America is the name given to it by those who thought and taught it was a new world. Nevertheless, conquered it as they may, the lawful and modern name for a maxim is America. And those whose bodies came and sustained from her breast are, in fact, Americans. There are some Moorish with so much foolish hatred for the former European slave masters until they also have blind hate for the name America. To the few, I remind them of the peacock who struts with pride of its flared beautiful feathers until it sees its ugly feet. In parallel, their bodies and souls are made from this land, fertilized with unnumbered seasons of genocidal suffrage of their great grandparents, just so you can hate. To be free in the very America they built and died in as slaves. Look at your feet. Surprise! You are American by birth. The priceless shoes of love you wear were inherited with justice and laced with prayers. North America is the entire continent, which is the home of three countries, e.g., the United States of America. Moorish is the descendant name of their ancient forefathers, and America is your birth name. Because America is the land in which you are born, hence, the Moorish Americans are a lawfully inherited, new, pure, and clean nation, descendants of the ancient Moabites whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa, Act 6. Who are the Moorish Americans? Moorish Americans are, again, descendants of Moroccans and born in America. Question 14. There is nothing wrong with America. The United States, which currently owns blacks under colorable authority, is not America, but of America. The U.S. can rise and fall, but the continent will still be here. There are also Moors throughout the northwestern hemisphere, most brought forth upon the American continents by way of the African slave trade that lawfully extended the old Moorish Empire with many newly developed Moorish kingdoms. New nations of Moors, indigenous from the interiors of the northwest and the southwest Africa, were rapidly giving birth to new nations in the Western Hemisphere. Harsh as it was and is, these nations actually evolved from the genocidal pains of slavery on the soils of the Americas and adjoining islands. All who had a hand in the business of African slaves, from the Pope, the Freemasonry, from the Pope to Freemasonry, were so blinded with financial greed and lust for power, they could not see the consequence of African slavery is the divine resurrection of many nations, many African nations. To this day, a few of the new Moorish nations are Moorish Americans, Moorish Canadians, Moorish Ecuadorians, Moorish Virgin Islanders, Moorish Moorish Mexicans, Moorish Trinidadians, Moorish Cubans, Moorish Arubians, Moorish Bahamians, Moorish Puerto Ricans, Moorish Jamaicans, Moorish Hondurans, Moorish Haitians, Moorish Panamanians, Moorish Nicaraguans, and Moorish Brazilians. All of these are Moorish from the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. The genealogy of the Moorish Americans. Before the great historian, e.g., J.A. Rogers, Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, John Henry Clark, Laurent Bennett, Dr. Yusuf A.A. Benjamin, E.T. First, there was Prophet Noble Ali. While it is true history is not an exact science, the ex-slaves should be consciously selective in their search of the self. By design, the American slaves are the only rejected cornerstone to the pyramid of families. The solidarity of these brilliant authors used love and history to warn the Moors of today to stop accepting the Europeans' maps, charts, and literature depicting Africa and the human family as ultimate gospel. Common sense dictates it is not in the best interest of a slave master to provide his slaves with those things necessary that would make the latter group than the former. And rarely will the conqueror accurately record the greatness of the conquered. The divine names and ancient tribal boundaries to the geographics of Africa and here and her nations of children have been touched by the pale skinned nations of Europe are barely recognizable and should not be accepted as gospel. What qualifies an invader as an expert historian of the subjugated land? Why accept the criminal's description of the crime? The greatest of failures are assured to a people who do not believe in the capacity of themselves. Worse yet, to believe the words of a known oppressor while boldly repudiating the guidance of their own blood has become socially acceptable. This is like watching a predator fish displaying the characteristics of a bottom feeder. Drew Ali calls the programming of the Negro mind, which makes them be opposed to blacks who detest their colored brother for looking down on the African Americans of today, is mental slavery. Though the criminal process of denationalization supported with a worldwide distortion and eradication of their history, the peoples of West Africa were completely detached from the human family of nations. They were earmarked by the letter of the law to perpetual slavery, and the reject labels of Negro, Black, and color were legally applied to bury the true status of a once noble people. The modern Moorish family, tribes, and nations of the Americas and the adjoining islands were and are all members of the same human family. The African slave trade was entirely supplied with indigenous nationals from the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Since the Moorish in the Western Hemisphere are the only people detached as descendants of the mothers and fathers of the human family, Adam and Eve, it is befitting they track their genealogy through the family national migration of their forefathers. As the only nationless people on earth, the NBC must trace themselves through the succession of regimes leading up to the present Moroccan Empire. Following this order, they will be able to see they are today what their forefathers were yesterday and are not NBCs. So the Moorish Americans must trace the genealogy through human family expansion of nations. According to Noble Drew Ali, the origin of the human family began in ancient East Amexem. The prophet reminds the Moors that Egypt was the capital empire of the Dominion of Africa. The inhabitants of Africa are the descendants of the ancient Canaanites from the land of Canaan. Old man Cush and his family are the first inhabitants of Africa who came from the land of Canaan. His father Ham and his family were second. Then came the word Ethiopia, which means the demarcation line of the dominion of Amexem, the first true and divine name of Africa, the dividing of the land between the Father and the Son. The following map illustrates the origin and migration of the human family. It must be remembered that Africans were populating the earth long before the grossly misdated so-called flood, which Noble Drew Ali describes as Pangea era, when the earthland known as Asia was one landmass. Before the great earthquake which caused the great Atlantic Ocean. Drew Ali also reminds us the Moorish, who are the ancient Moabites and the founders of the holy city of Mecca. In fact, it was the Moorish who first named that eastern part of Eden's garden, Havilah. This is why the Arabian descendants of Hagar, who came later, have spent the past 1,300 years to pogrom Africans, enslaving the Hamathites from the Sudan to the Atlantic. The Arabian, having nationalized the African creed of Islam, have been busy destroying the Moorish historical accompaniments throughout the upper and lower Nile, especially the Chemedian mystery system. This was a feverish attempt to cover up the 23 years it took an Egyptian adept named Gabriel to teach Muhammad to read. The Hamitic migration during the populating of northwest, central, and southwest Africa provided the sons and daughters of the modern day Moorish Empire. The Africans used to make up the brutal slave systems of the Americas were all from the Moorish Empire, which was the commodity of Hamitic kingdoms, nations, countries, and tribes. See 1371 to 1908 list of African sovereignties and their capitals. Most of these nations were in civilized effect and unseen by European presence until the 18th and 19th centuries. Most Moorish Americans can easily trace themselves through the spread of the human family, knowing they are the mothers and fathers of the greatest family on earth. In his lessons and instructions, Noble Drew Ali does not support the pale-skinned nations of Europe as being part of the human family. Hue, Hue -man, family. But then claiming to be descendants of primates, neither do they. The only thing the self-proclaimed white man and his clone, the black man, has in common is neither one has a mother or father in which to honor thy father and mother. This is why proper status is paramount in interest, because it is your nationality branch to the tree of the human family. Note the following map. Islam. Beginning with the second civilization, this illustration supports Drew Ali's 7 million year old Moorish migration. Later, as the industrious acts of the Muslims of Northwest and Southwest Africa, these are the Moabites, Hamathites, and Canaanites who were driven out of the land of Canaan by Joshua and received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle in a portion of Egypt. In later years, they formed themselves kingdoms, Moorish Holy Quran, page 3. And northwestern and southwestern was his Cush father's dominion of Africa. In the later years, many of the brethren from Asia and the Holy Lands joined them. The Moabites from the land of Moab are the founders and are the true possessors of present Moroccan Empire, with their Canaanite, Hittite, and Amorite brethren who sojourned from the land of Canaan seeking new homes. Moorish Holy Quran 47, 4-6. These kingdoms are called this day Morocco, Algiers, Tunis, Tripoli, etc. Moorish Holy Quran, page 3. Their dominion and inhabitation extends from northeast and southwest Africa across the Great Atlantis, even until present North, South, and Central America, and also Mexico and the Atlantis Islands. The kingdoms, countries, and tribes of the Moorish Empire Hamitic reigned from 1371 to 1908 before and during the Atlantic slave trade. North Central Africa, Libya, Tripoli, Tunis, Algiers. Northwest Africa, Morocco, Rabat, West Egypt, Western Sahara, Mediterranean, Nouakchott, Senegal, Dakar, Cape Verde Islands, Praia, Gambia, Banjul, Guinea-Bissau, Guinness, Conakry, Mali, Timbuktu, Nigeria, Kano, Burkina, Sierra Leone, Freetown, Liberia, Abidjan, Ivory Coast, Abidjan, Togo, Ghana, Benin, Porto Novo. Southwest Africa, Cameroon, Yaoundé, Chad, N'Djamena, Central African Republic, Bangui, Gambo, Libreville, Sao Tome and Principe, Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, Congo, Brazzaville, Zaire, Kinshasa, Rwanda, Angola, Luanda, Libido, Zambia, Lusaka, Nambia, Windhoek, Botswana, Gamborini, Swaziland, Masuri, and South Africa, Cape Town. Islam, Islam, Islam. And now I will turn this meeting over to India Kirk.
Islam, Islam, Islam. Today, the descendants of these African nationals from her northwestern and southwestern shores continues a new nation, being one free national name, Moorish Americans. Speaking of these Moorish nations, if all of them kept their mouths shut when you meet them, the blanket physical resemblance, cultural trait, and love of father and mother is inherent and undeniably the same among these descendants from West Africa. Do not be deceived by the different tongues, dress, and selected hairstyles. These are the children of one father. Take Jamaica, for example. The Moorish nations are not Ethiopians. A need to know history of Jamaica. People familiar familiar with the Holy Prophet often ask the question, why do Noble Ali teach Moorish they are not Ethiopians? In addition to they are not being Negroes, colored folks, and black people. After all, Ethiopia is an African country. The Holy Prophet answered this question by giving the origin, origin, definition, and historical uses of the word Ethiopia. He said, question number 89. What does Ethiopia mean? Ethiopia means something divided. The present day land called Ethiopia is not under its original true and divine name. That landmass was first known as the ancient Sheba through Cush, Romea. Ma. There were many other names for its people on depending on eras and dynasties. Example given: Sumites, Mirites, Meluha, Samaritans, Napatans, Habisha, Arabic, Cushite, etc. Often referred to as the mother race, its region covered what is known as the Upper Blue Nile, the beginning of ancient Kemet, Egypt's original name, across to Yemen, southeastern tip of Havilah, later named Arabia. The seven-shaped continent was known as a Mexam, or a Cuban, which modern misnomer is Africa. The inhabitants of Africa are the descendant of the ancient Canaanites from the land of Canaan. Old man Cush and his family are the first inhabitants of Africa who came from the land of Canaan. His father Ham and his family were second. Then then came the word Ethiopia, which means the demarcation line of the dominion of Amexem, the first true and divine name of Africa, the dividing of the land between the Father and the Son. This is the original and intended definition of the word Ethiopian. See Appendix Moorish Holy Quran, chapter 47. A demarcation of the earthland is the ancient science which sets invisible boundaries that are aligned with its solar and divine orbital life. Some of these transparent lines used to this day are the equator, longitude, latitude, Ethiopia are your basic north, east, south, and west, etc. These lines are drawn to keep man in harmony with the clock of destiny, which he uses as ages, eras, seasons, and governments. None of these measurements and directions is tangible, yet they constitute growth to the manifest life that man must come to know. Such is the true meaning of the word Ethiopia. Ancient Sheba produced the infamous Asiatic queen Blisquis, queen of Sheba, whom united kingdoms with King Solomon. In fact, the line of Judah and the house of David can be traced from here. The reader is asked to please do not be deceived by the Europeans' modern geographic makeover of the continent of Amexem or his misnaming of its people. Investigate and research what the Honorable Noble Joe Ali brought you of these histories. The word Ethiopia derived from the great founding fathers of East Africa, Holy Land, and originally means something divided. Those on the Kush side of Ethiopian line begot the Kushites and their descendant tribes, example given Sheba, Havilah, Sabra, Sheba, Dedan, and Nimrod, etc. Later on the other side of the Ethiopian, his father Ham and the rest of the tribe and nations inhabit the northwest and southwestern of the dominion of Africa. The Hermitites tribes and their brethren from the Holy Land of Canaan included the Hittites, Amorites, Sidon, Hittites, Jebusites, and Archites, Chemitites, and Moabites from the land of Moab. The latter are the founders and the true possessors of the present Morocco kingdom. Other established kingdoms known as Tunis, Tripoli, Algiers, Mali, and Mauritania. All of these tribes and kingdoms later compiled the Moorish Empire, which gave birth to a clean and pure nation known as the Moorish America. They were from the Hamitic nation of Northwest and Southwest Africa, including the Moors defeated in Spain, Italy, and Greece, which peopled the African slave trade. The European slavers throughout North, Central, and South America and the Atlantic islands distributed these enslaved African nationals by the millions over a period of 400 years. Here in the West, students have been miseducated to the word Ethiopia. They were taught the word was coined by the Greeks to mean burnt faces, burnt lands with burnt people, or some other form of blackened by white excrements. The truth lies in his simple answer. Where was any pale-skinned person when the gods of the Nile first charted the stars, navigated the seas, traversed the deserts, and paved the continent for civilization to prosper? Moreover, had they ever seen a sun-kissed man or woman when the continent of Africa was being circumnavigated? These Moorish millions were never stolen from the Kushite dominion of northwest and southwestern Africa. In fact, like Cush, they too are descendants, sons of Ham. It must be remembered the Ham lineage of sons, Cush, Mesmerin, Put, and Canaan, founded many of the great civilizations and ancient governments. Example given: Babylon, Palestine, Sheba, Phoenicia, and Kemet, Egypt. Like so, there were many nations, tribes, and kingdoms existing to this day, from the rock of Gibraltar to the South African Cape on the west coastland of Africa, too numerous to mention. This part of Africa became the womb from which her children were aborted into U.S. slavery. True history and maps of this entire area of Northwest and Southwest will reveal this portion of Africa was under the Moorish Empire from 649 AD to 1890 AD. For this reason, to this day, the committee of those tribes, nations, and kingdoms are known as Moorish. It is very important to know the land called Ethiopia was among the very first to become civilized in the form of a permanent government known as cities. 20,000 years before this, African governments were mobilized in their civilizing of the earthland. Here in the modern Americas, most people, especially the so-called NBC people, are inclined to accept the modern European name of people, places, and things as authentic, original, and true. Rarely do they investigate and research their nouns to their divine and national titles. Worse yet, if they do learn the truth, more than likely the custom of Western falsehood will still be more appealing. Yehoshua, who was a Moabite and Canaanite descent, is a prime example of this. And the African slaves did not name themselves Negro, Black, Colored, or Ethiopian. Guess who did and why? The question and answer is the key to understanding Moorish. Islam, Islam, Islam. We will now turn everything back over to our national assistant grand chief, Dr. Sadua Minty El Mahed Sefsuel. Are you there, Godman?
Islamism, Islamism.
Islam.
All right. Gratitude. Praise be to Allah. Islamism without the schism. Oh man, we want to give honors to our Moorish family up there. Want to give honors to this good brother here, family, brother Raheem Shamari. This is the good brother that actually was part and parcel of the NOI at one time and came through the Moorish paradigm. And the same brother that gave us that history, on brother Dr. Khalid Muhammad and John Muhammad, and his teaching on how when they cleaned up the Honorable Elijah Muhammad house in Detroit, they found the chart of the Temple number 4 in it. This good brother gave us that information. Good elder brother. Honors to the good brother. Definitely want to see a uniting between our people. So Islam to you, brother Raheem Shamari. We give honors to you, grand man. And also, Sister Sina Renee, honors to you. Honors to human thought again. Definitely honors to all the scribes on the panel. We give honors to all of you. I see the brother say the mother of race is human thought. Always quick on the draw. A maxim shaped like a 7, and our brain with the spinal cord. I see the 7. Islam. Islam. All right. Europeans do not know the nature of a thing. So how can they name it properly? Yeah, that's right. And it's a powerful measure. Before we go into the bulk of what it is we're going to deal with as far as dealing with the hieratic, we would like to mention a measure because, people think that they are saying something when they ask the question about a mixum, and they ask the question about Canaan land. And they say, well, how is it possible, that Africa, the people of Africa come from Canaan? And what they fail to realize is that we indigenous to the planet, and a lot of the present concepts that we have been given to us by the European, that has superimposed themselves into our history and tried to come up with their own narrative as to how we came into being. When I tell you all the time, like our chairman has said in the book of Fire, the Exhuming of a Nation, which was just being read from, he tell you, that we indigenous to the planet. So it wouldn't shock you to know that our ancestors were either in the furthest east portion, outside of the African continent, or if they was in the so-called Middle Eastern portion, because we was there too. Problem is that we have only been able to accept what is present in this new era in time, and we can't see beyond what we can see with our physical eyes. Our people are not willing to go and do the deep dive and do the research and take this demonstration back as far as possible. As we say, man is able to trace himself back as a mastermind, and thus he knows. You see? And so it's a powerful demonstration when we are able to study self. I give you some measures just dealing with linguistics, because through linguistics, along with anthropology, along with the science of archaeology, and astrology and so forth and so on, we can actually trace ourselves through the etymological root of words and language. We can also deal with being able to trace ourselves. All you got to do is apply the wisdom. You got to make it applicable to self before you can make it applicable to anybody else, right? So when we get into this drawing, let's deal with the word. For example, a lot of people like to talk about Kim, since we talk about Kemet. And the problem is that, Kemet was referring to the land and never the man when we deal with it being referred to as the black land. We don't deny that you translate the word Kemet as black land, but the word Kemet does not translate as black man. And even your average so-called Egyptologists and people that think they demonstrating chematology through metaneta, they'll tell you that too. You see? But when we go deeper into this measure, what we can see in confirmation of what we do when we go through strong words, when you go through strong words, family, when I say strong words in our drawing, we're talking about words that actually deal with being related to each other despite how they have changed in particular areas. For example, when you go into the Hebrew language, you find the word cam. See, you can't look over these things, family. The word cam being a derivative of the word kemet. A kim, and it is spelled C-H-A-M, chem. And this can be found, in Strong's Expanded Biblical Dictionary. This is actually 25 and 26, and it describes cam as the same as hot. And that's what the chairman was referring to in the Book of Fire when they use that terminology. From the tropical habitat, right? It says Cam, a son of Noah, also his descendant or of their country, so to speak, right? So they used the word Cam and then came forth in naming a man after the land. Didn't have nothing to do with the man being the description of the land. He was named after the land. For example, when we say Israel, this was a biblical type thing. You'll find it canonically as well. But when you go into the biblical narrative, you will hear them say Israel. But Israel was called a place and it was called a man. You see? And it didn't mean that that man in that place, though he being a man, was the descriptive of the way the land looked. You see, and this is where our people getting it twisted up. You know, and same thing with Arabia. Arabia is a place. You see, Arabia is a place, and you know, the Arabia derived from the Arabs. You see, and when you go into the root of that, it will lead you back to a people as well. You see, but Arabia is not descriptive of them being pale, is it? No. So we're not denying that the land or the soil was black. We are saying that black has nothing to do with nationality, you know, and it is pseudo at the highest level to try to imply that black soil, you know, basically represents nationality. If that's the case, then clay soil, Georgia clay, should represent some nationality too. That red clay they got in Georgia out there, yeah. You know, we can go into many different aspects of different colors of the soil. We can even go into whether or not the soil is worthy of producing anything. We can talk about that too if you want to. You know, but all in all, Moorish kid, nevertheless, you can't speak of a people as being a land, you know, and then use that as a descriptive of somebody's nationality. It just don't work that way, family. I'm sorry that we were misled and taught that way. Our people were trying to teach us so many things in order to bring us out of the condition that we was in. I'll go right here. Now, we already showed you, you know, like it spoke right here, was speaking of their country, right? Cam. Now, the Arabic equivalent of this, which I had an Arabic dictionary in my hand as well as this, I like to have that strong with the Hebrew in it. It says Hama. That's H-A-M-A. Now notice that the C has been taken away, or the K, sometimes they put the K on the front. K and C is interchangeable in linguistics, by the way. You got to know what sound shifting here. If you don't, you're going to think it's a totally, completely different word. So the definition of this particular word, Hamain, Hama, because Allah said he created man from black mud. You see? So that doesn't have anything to do with nationality, because nationality didn't exist during that time. You see? I'm talking about nationality in the form of the way we express it now. In this era and time, didn't exist. It wasn't even a factor, because people wasn't being divided up by their nationality, you know, based on a system of what we call racialization. And if you don't know what racialization is, you need to look that up. And ethnicization. Look these words up. You see? That's right. Human thoughts say we came before the land. That's right. We came before the land. What were we before we came into the land? See, that's what we got to have in mind when we get to talk about this stuff. And then people won't be so twisted. So when you hear it say that we come from the land of Canaan, all you got to do is look at, well, what are they calling this special place today? Is it still called Canaan? Or is it called something else by another name? Are they referring to it by another name? You see? And once you understand that, you see, okay, this is talking about the same people, but names change over time based upon who it is. Then you have to see, well, who is it that gave this particular place this new name? And then you put it in yourself whether or not you want to accept that name based on the source that it's coming from. Remember, don't let that criminal describe the crime, because he's going to get away every time. So, Hama, it means to clean out mud. This is one definition. So you mean to tell me that's your nationality? Because this is referring to the same demonstration dealing with the land as Kemet would say, you know, and as Cam was in the biblical as well. But then it goes on a little further. It says from a well. To clean out mud from a well, right? So we know that the main essence is this is talking about mud. So it says Hamaun, which means black-feeted mud. Slime and combination of earth and water, earth having the source of body, and water, the soul of life. Right? Let's get into looking at somebody's appearance. And we know we come in many different shades, from the brightest of the bright or the ripest of the ripe, to the lightest of the light. Either way you want to go into it. We can look at ourselves. And if you seen one amongst our people, and let's just say he was heavy melanated, or she was heavy melanated to the extent to where they look like the color black, that's still not their nationality. That's a description of their exterior, but it has nothing to do with describing who they are. Because you can see somebody that look that dark and be from the Hosa people or the Fulani people. So now you're getting into talking about who they really are, what tribe they come from, what nation they come from. You see? So ask yourself, how is it that our people, they will go to their deathbed fighting to hold the word black when the word black didn't even exist when they came into existence? I'm talking about in the ancient time. All that was originated under the English language. So I always put a challenge out there, and it's like a worldwide challenge now. If you can take that word black at its root, remove the vowels, and then you'll have B, L, C, and K, and try tracing that back as far as you can. Try tracing it back as far as you can. And then take more. Remove the vowels from the word more. We're going to make them word skeletons. And trace that M and R back and see how far you can go. Do that, and you'll have the answer to anything it comes to when dealing with that word black. I guarantee you ain't going to find no ancient word that deal with our people in reference to B, L, C, and K. When you take the little A out of there, because that's the only vowel in it, trace it back as far as you can. I'm talking about to the continent of Africa, and see, can you find this particular structure referring to a people, or where it refers to a land, or where it refers to a man, outside of us giving it that description over here in the West. I guarantee you it won't be found. But if you take that word more, and you remove them vowels off that word more, and you got M and R, you're going to be able to trace that word not only back to this side of the earth, you're going to find it, but you go all the way back to Africa, and that M and R word is going to always trace back to a person, a place, or the constellations in the heaven. So from that standpoint, you ask me which name is more ancient, and I tell you all you got to do is the proof is right there. And that's case closed on that conversation. Problem is, though, these pseudoscientists, monomaniacs out here, conversational narcissists, they basically have created their own measure, and that's all they want to accept. They rather accept we come from apes. Even if you tell them, well, the first European to apply that to us was one that was delving into scientific racism, right? When they say he's a black man, he's a white man, he's a Chinese man, he's a, all them different measures that they come up with. And so we have our people arguing about these things. But you have to understand the language, family. You have to be willing to go into the essence of the language. And once you're able to get into the essence of the language and do the research, you can't be led astray like that right there. Nobody can be taking advantage of you no more. Mo. So, we just wanted to point that out, just touching on the history that was given to us by the chairman, Dr. Akin Acton Pert M. Heru Tutankhamun Bey. Grand job he did with the Book of Fire. I keep telling y'all better get it. It's just powerful to be able to know the self and be able to trace the self back. Because again, masterminds are able to trace themselves back, and thus they know they self. So who made you? Well, that's all about doing the research and going into the self. So Islam and Islamism without the schism. So at this time, we're going to go deeper into our special structure today in this subject matter. And actually, we're going to deal with all of us, all of the scribes pretty much participating in an open dialogue, because we have pretty much exhausted the different measures as far as going into the language, exploring it. We have the tools that we need now to further ourselves in the information, and at this time we're going to go a little further, and we're going to get into some other aspects of the languages that our ancestors brought forth, but we have the knowledge now. So let me share the screen real quick. We're going to pull this measure up because this is the best place to be dealing with the language, a particular piece of information that we're dealing with here. This is actually the document Poe, dealing with the skillful scribe, the shipwreck sailor, and so forth and so on. So we were, in our previous class, we went into the different ways of being able to express, different ways of being able to express the language and the sounds and, sound things off. And we even came forth with definitions for the words that we came up with. We are now able to be able to identify the difference between those things which are in the structure of a word, that represents what we call the anaglyph, those things that represent what a lot of people like to refer to as determinatives. We refer to them as indicators, you see. And so all of this gives us real background to really be able to delve further into this information. So now we are looking at these things and we are seeing more of the heratograms than we do here. We actually can see, some of these things as they are expressed without even having to have the anaglyphs there to show us these things. So praise be to Allah for being able to come so far, and once we're able to do that right there and replace, these pictorials with the heratograms, and we are dealing with what we call a reverse engineering process in returning to the source, then our people too will be able to gain some more clarity when it comes to dealing with these letters. We just have to recognize certain things for what they are, become more familiar with what we call triliterals and biliterals, and do our own research as well. Because as we can see, Rome was really reaching when you look at some of these things, trying to compare them, we already know they don't compare, but we know that these are the placeholders, so to speak, almost like a reservation. That's what we can look at these pictorials as. This is the reservation right here, and these are the true natives, that's been locked out of the registration. So they got fake, chiefs governing a so-called Native American tribe when the real Native Americans are over here. So they're in the reservation, it's reserved for members only. And once they reserve that demonstration, that's making sure that nobody else can't get in there. So that's why I call it a placeholding apparatus. So these particular symbols here have been used to keep us away from these alphabets. As we already told you, we ain't got to go into that again. But we want to get to the point to when we see this, we already know, okay, that's a symbol for children. That's a symbol for people, or the remet. See here, we don't want to have to keep going back and forth dealing with these special drawings to deal with the picture, in order to express this. We want to be able to identify this and identify the expression as it does in the letter. And oftentimes we already know that what is at the end of the special measure, or the determinative or the indicator, that's actually expressing, this particular word, which represent the children. So, same thing when we deal with the word for land and any other word. And so they give a whole bunch of information in here, and they give breakdowns based upon this. And they give a couple of signs up here that you can use and actually go into to where you can see, again, what words they have used and what letters they have used, what they have basically come forth with to express, their special drawing up here with this shipwreck sailor demonstration. And so we also have our Akutu, which is very useful here. And we can come through here and break these measures down. Contrary to the popular belief, they wanted us to come into what they call phonograms. The only phonograms that we deal with are attached to these express symbols here. We don't deal with phonetics attached to this. We always make that clear. This is where your phonetics are coming from. You see? So when we go through this particular document, we have the signs of expression as well. And if we were to look in our Quran, and I was making reference to this in our last class, and I'm speaking of the Quran. I dropped that down. I'm speaking of the Quran that we recently brought with the tajweed in it. If you were to open your Quran, family, to let's see, what page was that? It's in the back of the page 56. If you were to open your Quran to page 56, and I think they may even have a chart on this right here online. Let me see. That way I can show it to our family that they can look at it as well. Let's see here. I'm going to try to see here. Tajweed. And I learned Tajweed, as I told our family, from the brother that was teaching the Arabic to me years ago. Tajweed is what they call proper pronunciation, but my Tajweed came in Egyptian Arabic because he was Egyptian. He studied at Cairo University, Al-Azhar University, taught at Dar Uloom. For people don't know what that is, an Islamic university. So these are those Qurans. I'm trying to see if they have an actual picture of what I have right here. You know what? Better yet, I can do it like this right here. I'm going to just take a picture of it and then send it to my email, and I can post it and show it to you. So let me do this real quick. Snapshot this picture, and we're going to send it to, hold up, I want to make sure I got it to where it looks. Okay. Give me 1 second, family. This thing is very powerful here. Okay, so I got the picture there. Okay, that's good right there. So now I'm going to edit it real quick. That way it's showing exactly that, and you can get good emphasis on it. And you'll know what we're referring to once we go into this special drawing. Now I just go back and forth between that. Okay, so I'm going to upload it now. Send it to my email, or rather Gmail. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I just put GF. Okay, so it's done. So let me open up my Gmail real quick. And once I open this up, this is going to give you the face map. There it is right there. All righty then. Okay. Now we got it open now. There we go. So can you see my screen right now, Morris Ken?
Islam.
Islam.
Islam. Is it possible to make that screen a little bit bigger because it's coming up like a box?
Oh, I know exactly what I need to do. It's actually me. I got to get up out the way. There
Yeah.
there we go. Is that better?
Yes. Gratitude.
Okay, gratitude. So we know y'all scribes already got this, but we know that our family, they definitely we want them to see it when we refer to this. So I kind of go back and forth as we go through different letters, and you can see it showing you where you express these letters at. And a lot of our people don't know, dealing with the Egyptian Arabic dialect, you're actually dealing with the Coptic dialect. And so that gives us the proper pronunciation for these Kemetic words. So we are using the Coptic dialect. You see, and that's because I was taught in that. Praise be to Allah, able to find use for being taught with that and utilize it in this particular class. So, a lot of people think that for some reason, I don't know what make them think that I can't go into this Arabic. I mean, just because I don't get out there and flown it or whatever the case may be. But, if we dare you to read some Arabic, I'm like, really? Y'all do know I've been doing that like literally 20, 30 years ago, right? So we're trying to teach our people. We're not trying to show off, and so now at this particular time, we're going to show you how to utilize your knowledge of what you know and go beyond being Arabized to those who think they want to be Arabs. You see? So, yeah, this is the chart, the face chart. And as you can see here, and we even have our own breakdown of when we taught the Arabic, that alphabet, where one can actually retain these sounds. The alif, ba, ta, tha, jim, ha, ka, dol, zol, ra, zay, sin, shin, sad, do, to, zo, ain, gain, fa, quaf, kaf, lam, mim, noon, he, wa, ya. Those are the Arabic alphabets. And I was able to memorize that because I put it together in that sequencing years ago. And that's why it still sticks with me now. Because it wasn't in the book that way. It was actually in the order, but it wasn't in that expression. That's how I was able to retain it. I actually had already knew the Arabic before I met the brother, so to speak. He just taught me proper pronunciation, and that is called tajweed. Tajweed, family. So I had already memorized the alphabets, had already started reading it and everything. So, nevertheless, dealing with these sounds, they are showing you where you actually express these sounds from. So, starting, and this is before I go into, the measure dealing with the actual expression in the Poe document, we'll just come from here so we'll have a basis. As you can see, they show you where your short vowels are, your A, U, and your I, A, O, and E, long vowels, and they give you expressions of them, But when you go into actually dealing with this face map here, let's start with the throat, where you have a letter H that's coming from here. And that's right here, family. I'm going to blow it up a little bit more just in case. So this is ha. Ha, right? This is ha, right? But then it also shows you where you express the ba, the mim, and the wa from. They are all being expressed, softly from the lip. You don't have to go deep down into the glottal, to express these. They're right there on the tip of the lip, so to speak, right? And you have fa, fa. Fa is just simply like pushing out air and dealing with the letter F, fa, fa. Then you have right here, tha, 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 pushing more from the top of the lip, going a little bit off in there. Tha, za, you see? Za, za, zay, za. So one is zay, one is za. So you have to know, those expressions. Actually, this is zay and this is za, za. Sometimes you'll see it expressed as DH based on who it is that got the alphabet. So that's another za, sa, za, sad. So a lot of these particular letters, they're showing you this Z as it relates to the letter S, because there's some relation there. Just like with the tha and the za. Sta, za, za, za. That's all they're doing. So when you come here, you have ta, which is T. You see you coming from this area, the tip of the nose, right? Ta, da, da, the letter D. Ta and da is the same because D and T is interchangeable, right? And then you have ra, ra. And notice how you are going here. Ra, deep down into the nasal cavity, right? And then you have la, la, here. And then you have da again, dad, actually, dad is the way to. Then you have sheen, which is sometimes you'll see it spelled S-H-I-N or S-H-E-E-N. And then you have yad, 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 right? And you see the J right there because they show you the J and the Y is interchangeable based upon the rules of the language you're dealing with. You see? Then you have ka, calf, calf. You see? See, calf. Coming from here. Quaf, quaf. This is where Quran come from, right? And this is from the uvula area region here. Then you have the G, which is interchangeable with K and H. We see this in the ancient Egyptian language all the time. Why is this so similar? Because the Arabs, you have to remember, Hagar or Hajar, was the mother of Ishmael. She was Egyptian. She was Kemite. So it's not strange that you would find this is special sound and expression coming through the Arabs. Even in my DNA, going back to the Sultanate root, it shows where there was a migratory pattern that went up through Saudi Arabia. Where that wave went in, they went further east and they went all the way over into, what they call India and, other places. But nevertheless, the original Kushite Arabs, they derived from the lineage of the ancestors. So these modern Arabs are their descendants and they descend from us, our people. So it's natural to understand what's going on. So you just got to know the different portions, what's coming off of the tongue, nasalization. We can see that's real prevalent. Also a little bit here. Your vowels coming deep from down into the throat. I, and I can't forget, like I say, the ka. That's your ka, ka. Sound like a G. The G is like when you push that G out, this is how you say this ka, ka. It's like you pushing it out, from this particular area right here. When you do it, ka, you can actually feel that's where it's coming from. Right here. You see? And then you have he again right here. Then this is ein. You can tell it's coming from the same area. He, ein. If you say those two things to yourself, he, ein, you can tell they both coming from this region. If you say it right. You see? And then basically that's it. So these are different expressions of, what the ein look like. But then, like I say, when you go deep down into, your throat cavity, this is where your vowels are. So once you have this knowledge and you begin to exercise, this knowledge based upon the information we have, then when you go into the Poe document, we're going to go back there real quick. You understand exactly what's being expressed. So, for example, how would you use that chart to navigate through the way they're giving you the sound values here? Okay, so we know this is the letter A right here, these heratograms, right? So where would I go? It's a soft glottal stop. So, okay, when we go back over here where we are, let's go to the soft glottal stop, dealing with the A. Now, the A can only come from this particular region here, right? And then up here. So you got the A, actual A here, and then the one here. So the glottal stop, in all actuality, with the A, it's a thin line between Ain and Ah. Ain, Ah. So you in between this particular region here when you produce that sound. Ain, Ah. Ain, Ah. Ah, Ain. Ah, Ain. And you can feel that it's coming from here. In fact, if you put your hand on the bottom of your throat, above your collarbone, Ain, Ah, you can feel it when you express that demonstration. You see? So let's go back over here to the chart. So now that we know what that one, here's your yeah. Yeah, yeah. 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 And I just did that because I see the I right there, and you say I and Y. Just like, the J is interchangeable. This is the read that they're expressing. So, this is just simply, yeah, yeah, yeah. Almost like producing an I and a Y at the same time. Yeah, yeah. Make that sound and then go back to this chart. Yeah. Come up here. You see where it's going? Yeah. You can feel that it's coming from this particular area and expression. Yeah. 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 Right? So let's go back to our other spot here. You have the long expression. E. E, which sounds more like ye, ye, ye. This is the long expression. If you ever see this express your symbol. So when we see it singular, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then you see here, e, right? So here is your harsh glottal stop. This is that deep ein, ein, ein right here. They say ein, ein, ein. I'm just showing you the Kemetic expression, and then I'm showing you the Egyptian Arabic expression, which come from the Kemetic expression. So that's a harsh glottal stop. Glottal. You see? Then this one is pretty simple, dealing with the letter W. But it is good to make it sound better to push the W and the letter U out at the same time. Even though they like to substitute them individually, if we push that demonstration out, the W and the U, it becomes ooh, 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 right? Ooh. So you actually using the U, ooh, neteru, 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 neteru. You see what I'm saying? So it takes practice, but after you do it enough and you begin to emphasize it, like we say, for example, I would say, Ya Allah nu heru mahru neteru. Ya Allah heru. So this is just using the sounds and expressing it. And this is where you are able to deal with the vibration of the language. That's how you vibrate the ether, so to speak. when you know the proper way of saying things or speaking, and using this hecker. You see? So you have the letter B, which is pretty much simple. But another way you can actually, because these two letters are interchangeable in most cases, B and P. And they'll bring, the W in there too, certain time. But just say, bull, bull. The way you demonstrate the B and the P is very similar to each other. Try pushing the P out when you expressing the B, as in bull, 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 right? But then try pushing the P out while expressing the B. Bull, bull. They sound similar, but there's a slight difference if you can listen real close, right? And so where will we find this at on the chart? Where's that letter B? Coming straight off of the front of the lips. You just using that air to push it on out there, right? Here's your F right here. We getting ready to get into this coming from the same area, right? So this is the letter F, right? Foo, foo, poo, poo, boo, boo. Notice they all coming off the tip of the lip. F coming from the top lip region. The B and the P coming from the bottom lip. Along with the letter W as well. Poo, woo, poo, woo, right? So we have also the letter M. That's pretty simple. Mim, bim, mim, mim, mim. Then you have nun, nun, nah, nah, nun, nah, neteru, neteru, mim. You see? The letter R. A lot of time you'll hear people express this letter R because it's really interchangeable in the Kemetic language with the letter L. And you would put a slight roll, not a heavy roll, not arah. We hear certain people do that. Arah, sounding like the cowardly lion on the Wizards of Oz or something. Arah. All that type of demonstration that we're not trying to speak and get hyphy like the Mexican family. No, well, that ain't what we getting at. We just saying just a little bit. Try to hold it back. Try to hold them extra R's from coming in there. It's gonna take practice to get that first out of there. You know what I mean? Practice. But you notice you can hear the R with the L and the L with the R, even if you had R and you was trying to push the R out. It's still going to produce the same sound. You see? So our ancestors had this thing down to a science. And you got to come from up here in this area here as well when dealing with that particular expression. So we seen the ha, that's regular, ha, right? As in house. Then we have the other measure here. This is kind of harsh. Ha, ha, ha. You kind of pushing with this special measure. Ha. This is a glottal. This one goes a little deep as well. Ha, ha. You see? So you can see these different expressions. A lot of H's. The letter H dominates the Kemetic language. Next to that, you got your S. And there's many different developments. Seen, sheen, seen. And this is your sha. Always remember when you see that area right, the arrow right there pointing downward, that's your sha, sha. This is seen, a sa, seen. Right? This K is interchangeable with the letter Q. That's why you see Quran spelled sometime as Quran. You see? Q. That's it. Then you have another K, which is a regular K. K. Then you have the G. This G is often interchangeable with the letter K, the G and H to be exact. You see? Okay, and then T, which is regular ta. This is ja, cha. Some people say, see, cha. That's the C and H. Choice. D. That's simple. And then you have ja. as in the cha cha. Don't confuse the cha cha with the ja. Dealing with this letter B. So these are all of the express sounds, that we have here. And if we could, we can get our family to come forth, our scribes, and see if we can exercise these sounds together. And you can repeat after me on the first in succession. Islam, scribes.
Islam.
Islamism without the schism. All right, everybody unmuted.
Islam.
Islam.
No. Yes.
All right now. Well, we're gonna start with the first one. And just say Ain.
Ain.
We used to that one right there. Ain't down here in the South. I know how we use ain't.
Yeah.
I ain't doing it. Oh man. So no, you ain't.
Yes.
Yeah, so we get right there. We can do that one. That one easy right there for me. So here's the other here. This is your Y in the I. You want to yeah. It's you pushing that I and that Y at the same time, right?
Yeah.
And then you have here the long I is more like a E. You like pushing the I Y out E, and it becomes an E, like the letter E. You see E. Long expression.
Okay.
Here you have yeah, that's right. With that harsh glottal stop. That's right. And then we have now this is the fun part right here when we go to trying to push this U out with W. So you're thinking of the letter U because this is interchangeable, but you're pushing out the W at the same time. So it's woo. That's right. That's right. Correct. And so now we have B. So you want to push the B out and push the P out at the same time. B. Right. In the same way as you come down here, you would say P and push the B out. Have that in mind. B. It sounds similar to the last one, but you're pushing the P. B. See, you can go back between the two. Islam. And so then we have the letter F. Fa. Straight up to the front of the lip. Fa. Right. That's the proper expression there. And then we have mim. Simply mim. Yeah, that M is what it is no matter where you go. That letter M is also one of the oldest letters because you can see right here, it actually contains its original form. It just changed or turned a different way.
Right.
Whether you go through Arabic or Hebrew and all of them, that letter M all the way up into the English pretty much is itself. And there's a few more letters like that too if we look at it close enough. So we have also the letter for N, which is none. Right. Like the nun of ancient Kemet, the celestial Nile or the universe, none. Right.
None.
Actually, they speak of it as nut and nun. So nunnet. So here we have also the letter R. There it go, y'all. This is the fun one. Ra. Try to push it out without. It's long, yeah. Ra. Almost like you're trying to get back. Ra. There you go. We ain't got to go crazy because I done heard some people. Yeah, I'm telling you, they get to roll it out. Hold up, Mo, put some of the R's up. What y'all doing? So, okay, we go on a little further. Here's the letter H, and this is pretty much ha. Ha. Right, it's just a regular ha.
This is what I want.
And then now the one beneath it, you get down into it a little bit. Ha, ha, ha. Yeah, like you're trying to cough something up a little bit. Ha. That's easy right there, right?
You gonna call somebody?
Islam. And so then this one here is ka. This is the one that's often interchangeable with the letter G. See that little symbol on the bottom right there? And we don't want to confuse it with the one under it because it's hard too, but it ain't as hard as this one.
Oh, okay.
Ain't that one like the cam?
This one here? No, this is the ka right here. Ka. Right here. But this is more like ha. Yeah.
Okay,
it's similar to this one here. They similar. This one just has a straight line and this one has a curved line. But they both hard H's. Is what I'm getting at. It's like they get softer. They start off high, ha, ka, ha. You see what I'm saying? Like that. And so that's your glottal H there. As you notice, these are all coming from glottal, and these other one, this is a voice H, and this is just an H as in English, like I said, like we said before. So we just have to know it when we look at the symbol, in the actual transliteration as well. Because, now that we've been practicing, we can see certain letters, but we can also look by transliteration and see how some sounded out. We know that if it's some letters coming in between three consonants, we know that's the letter E. We know if it come on the end, it's got to be the letter U or W, whichever one you choose to roll,
Right.
So then we have here, the letter S in the beginning. Actually, I said it then. Right? That's the S. Here's another one here in so. Right? So that's two of them. Then you have shat. And you know that by the dot that's pointing down, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And again, when you see this K up under it, it's quaff, right? And then this is ka. You see? Right. And you see the G is red. This is the qua. Right. Sound like it looked like a Japanese letter too.
Yeah, it do.
Right here, but it sounds like one of them letters that come from Chinese or Japan. Qua.
Like guacamole.
About the way you speak on Guatma. Yeah. So here we have ta. Then we have cha. Right?
Wow.
Like choice. And then it says here we have D, which is regular, how you would normally demonstrate D. No special emphasis. But this here, they put it here, J. Basically push the J out.
Right.
You'll basically be able to express it. But when you see that line, remember that line is showing that it's just jet. Like D and J is sometimes they put it there. Like with jet. You see? So these are powerful measures, Morris Ken. Before we move any further, though, do you have any questions or comments, Morris?
Scribe question.
No.
Okay, go ahead.
Dendra Nia Dr. Shaheen, I think that Dr. Mustafa of Guatemala, could we use his books?
Yeah.
And that's with them sounds, because I remember we went over them way back when.
Yeah.
we had his book, and he had it in there to kind of help us to pronounce
Yeah.
that. Okay,
And if you
great.
go back, you can also go back to the when we first started teaching, we
Uh-huh.
got an Arabic chart. I got to go look for that demonstration where it actually has the Arabic with the Kemetic letters,
Hmm.
in our earlier classes. It's
Right.
recorded though, so if you go back and look at it, you'll also be able to see again the pronunciations.
Okay. And
But
then this.
go ahead.
Oh, and then this picture. Where do you say that? Because I got my Tawhid Quran with meaning translation in English, and I don't see that in on page 56.
It should be. If you don't have that on page 56, then it might be a different version you
What's
have.
that? It pardon self. I didn't see it on it for the first 56, but go to the other end of the book.
Yeah, the end
There's
of the
another
book.
56 in there.
Yeah,
Oh,
in the very back.
Yeah.
No, I see what it is. She up in the front portion.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
what
I'm at the
happened to me
front.
too.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so
Oh, I forgot. When you read the Quran, you have to read the Quran the opposite direction.
okay.
So like, yeah, that's the 56 coming from there when you were reading it, if you were trying to read it, but when you go to the back, it
Mhm.
actually, counts 56, from the
Oh,
area. And that's based on actually it starts at the index area.
right, right. Got to go from right to
Yeah, you're
left.
still going from right to left, but it's the index area of the Quranic subjects, and then it goes on further back. You go to
Okay.
56 from there, and y'all let me know if y'all see that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And so once you have this knowledge, all you have to do is go back to that same chart, this chart here, with it in your hand, and you can practice these same things just by looking at this chart.
Right.
See,
I'm glad you went over this though. I mean, as far as you verbalizing them, because hey, you're expert.
oh, I'm striving.
Yeah.
It's just I'm just applying what I was taught back then to now, because they gave me that just to learn Quran.
Okay.
But I flipped it and I'm using that same knowledge because I know I was told that this is the original tongue of the Copts. That's what the brother was telling us. I'm teaching the original Egyptian, and so I'm able to use that in this case because we're trying to express, the last expression of the language, you see,
Right.
and that's closer to the original, so to speak,
Right.
because the European don't really know how these things were pronounced. So we just want to be on point from that aspect.
Yeah.
Then when we look at this tool right here, this tool make it better because now you can look at it, but like I say, if we can have all these tools we want to, but if we don't know how to make them applicable,
Right.
then they just something that look pretty.
That's right.
Right, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's what they put this here for.
Just
so,
like I just found this chart.
yeah.
It's always at the other end of the book. I'm like,
Right.
I thought I had ordered the wrong book. Why would they got
Of course, we gotta go how to use it too.
That's where I was. Oh
that? Oh, no, I got the wrong thing.
Islam.
So,
Islamism without the schism. So yeah, I see our family down there say doing good until the R. Yeah, that R.
oh,
Sister Cena said that. Yeah, that R is something else, man. I told you they'll be trying to push it out like that little lion on the Wizard of Oz. I am the king of the Paris. Not the once, not twice, not
Oh, this is the
Let me
Quran.
stop over here, boy. Y'all got me over here. Okay,
we having fun.
no. Right.
Messing without the schism.
Islam.
So that's basically the gist of the expression though in it though. We got some grand tools right here and it's gonna sharpen us up so that when we go into Grand Quran, we will be able to express it, and it's also being able to know how to find your rhythm too. For example, I'm gonna use that Fatiha as an example, just being that most people are familiar with that. If you ever heard somebody ever deal with that Fatiha, you hear people say it all types of different ways.
Islam.
This is based on the style, but though they say it different ways, they all have the proper tajweed. in pronunciation. So it's really based upon what allow you to do it. Like, a lot of the brothers used to love to hear me, you know, call their Don, and they would want me to lead the prayer. You know what I mean? Because of the way I express my particular way, but it was my style. Because when you express it with your own style, it always flow like it's supposed to flow. And mine was simple. Like when I used to lead the brothers in demonstrating, like we called their done. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. That's how we would do it. And then I should do la ilaha illallah. I should do la ilaha illallah. I had my own little style. And what it is, you take that vibration, because they got that from the Egyptians.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the Arabs got that from. That didn't come from no Arabs. That came from the Kemites. And you don't hear people dealing with Medu that way.
Wow.
And you hear them reciting the Medu. That's how we often do. But you don't really hear people go into the essence of dealing with, the vibratory measure. And I do it from time to time, especially when I feel like the ethers is real high and they need to be calmed down. It brings a peace about oneself. This is how you activate the hecker, because now you're dealing with the harmonics. Mustafa Gadala touch on that, like when we deal with our Moorish American prayer. Just like they would say, just say if we were saying the Fatiha, I would say, Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmuddin, Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. That's my particular style in demonstrating it, But then if I would come here and apply that same measure to the Kemetic prayer, it would be, Ya Allah abnu heru makuneteru, Ya Allah abhet heru, Ya Allah ma'at heru, Ya Allah hotep heru, Ya Allah heru, Ya Allah ma'at herkut, Ya Allah ahwajet tejud, Ya Allah per im tetek, per im heru, Ya Allah bamadu, like that. So you getting the flow with it. That's just the way.
I like that.
I like that too. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Get
beautiful.
that.
Whoa.
Yeah, work on that.
Let's get rid of
Yeah.
attitude about
But
that.
see, that comes from taking the knowledge of what I had applied by learning the harmonic and vibratory measure through Al-Fatiha, and say, well, this come from Kemet anyway. Now let's apply it back to its original source, the Medu. And you see what I'm saying?
Right.
And I could have went any type of way with it, and it goes on a whole nother measure, especially when you put sound behind it, or music. You see what I'm saying? And you can actually go in the flow with the actual music, and so when you're able to do it from that aspect, that's right, it's chanting. That's exactly the sisters say, chant. Everybody like to, and that's what it was. Like I say, brother would love to hear me, because I really go deeper into the octaves when I'm really going in. But it's good to do this when you're alone. And that's what I was telling the family, as well. I told you, like, people go to acting crazy, you go to reciting that demonstration, man, them demons and jinn get to running. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Y'all get out the way. Oh my gosh. You know what I mean? Please get out the way. So that's how we have to demonstrate. And this is coming from us. This is our expression. It's automatically gonna come out the way that we bring it anyway. Y'all know how we do it. Y'all done seen how we did them people national anthem. They get up there and it ain't what it was before. Make it sound like it got some soul in it. You done seen Beyonce do it. You done seen a whole bunch of our people that can sing do it.
Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, Jimmy, all of them. It don't belong to them no more when daddy home and mama home.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
get out the way.
Yeah.
I'm the one that told you how to do it in the first place. Put some soul in it.
That's
You
right.
know, you ain't got no melanin in your vocal cords. You know what I mean?
Well, prayer's a secret thing anyway.
Islam. Yeah.
Islam.
So
Prayer's supposed to be a secret thing between you and the great God anyway.
yeah, most definitely. Yeah, when you chant enough and you open up
So
the ether,
each
then you
individual
to him.
bring that God in them.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And so, you know, that's what it really boiled down to. Other than that, you know, you don't really find the substance in it. The
Right.
vibration is what moved the ethers.
Yes. Yes.
You see, that's what we getting at. And the
It's
deeper you are in your vibration, you can do it alphabet by alphabet, like we were showing you with the just the reciting of it, like the leaf, bad time, you know that measure. That
mhm.
those all rose. See, that's like, I mean, I took the little measure that was applied in the little music class when I was a young seed.
Yeah.
Do re mi fa sol la ti, and I took that concept and I applied it. So I'm basically taking things I learned from different aspects and then applying it to aid and assist our family because we are familiar with these things. You know what I mean?
Islam. Just
So
like showing that dude that was rubbing that, he had the different color salts on the table, and he was
yeah,
rubbing it, and it shows the
Yeah.
vibration of it creating.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That was a cold demonstration when you think about even the vibration. When you say it clears the ethers, it does. You know.
yeah. And
Yeah.
it makes different. It makes different shapes and forms. Sacred geometry. See, sacred geometry, you know, moves along the letters of, you know, the number system. You know, and when you get into it, you'll see it expressing the one. There's a symbol for the one in creation, you know, all the way up. You know, we say 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9 is most important, you know, but you will find these in different shapes or different forms, so to speak, you know. So, you ain't never really, if you notice, everything that's dealing with what's equivalent, you know, your even numbers, so to speak. If you notice that these are basically dealing with the things that mostly deal with more of the manifest vibration or the duality. Because if we deal with the number 2, it would deal with 2 triangles, one point up or one point down. And there's something in creation that represents that.
Mhm.
There's a force in creation that represents that which goes up, that which comes down. You
Right.
know, and then if we go to 4 deals with materialism. You see what I'm saying? Mostly dealing with the 4 elements. So that's a box. That's why people, you got to think outside the box.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Outside of that materialist thought pattern. You scientists, a scientific literalist, not
Dr.
literacy. Go ahead, sister.
Islam, and when you was talking about that and talking about that vibration, I just thought about it. I said, it's natural because we are gods and goddesses. And then
That's
our prophet told us, he said the words that he speak are spirit. And so we just like him. And so when we sing these things and when we say this thing, quite because of who we are, it's gonna have that vibration to it. And now I'm realizing now when I got in this government, because I used to teach on the power of your words and stuff, but I couldn't put it together. And but now that I know I'm a God, whether negative or positive, that's why it's so important that we purify our thoughts and watch what's coming out of our mouth, because you are a God and Goddess, and you create because you got that, especially that vibration is coming. Oh man, I got to meditate on that a little bit. That's
right.
powerful.
That's right. You know, and if you look at it, and like I say, when you express certain things,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you're gonna either express it on the odd scale or the
Mm-hmm.
even scale.
Yes.
You know, and dealing with that odd scale, you know, that's where a lot of the divinity come in. You think odd means something that's bad. No, odd is actually, you know, more on point. Nothing wrong with the even aspect, but the even aspect is dealing more with duality. Like I said, if you went from the 4 to the 6,
Mm-hmm.
just putting them 2 triangles that was dealing with the 2 together.
Right.
Well, now you uniting the 2 triangles, but you still got, you know, now 5 limbs and what come from the manifest, you know, the birth canal. You know,
Right.
we rise way above that when we deal with the odd number. because we dealing with number 5, so that ain't even a factor there. You see what I'm saying?
Islam.
Just like when you dealing with the 3, the concept of triunity,
Yes.
the physical and the spiritual. You know what I mean? Just going back between the scale.
Right.
You know, then you say, okay, well, let's deal with the number 7. Oh, well, that's perfection.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Wow.
Yeah, 8 again. Now you're dealing with 2 expressions. Materialism as it is above, materialism as it is below. Material is all you thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
You know, and so after that, then you have the 9.
Re-entry.
And 9 is the re-entry point. That's right. So if you notice, the even numbers deal with the material plane, and the odd numbers deal with the spiritual.
Wow.
Both of them work together because you got to go through, you know, the 1 to get up to the 9, and you cross over them, but you really ain't. We Moors don't need but the 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. You know, this is our aspect of Islamism by the numbers. You know, because when you're in the high state, you're in your God state, you don't need duality.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And when you pass through it, you don't even really pay it no mind. Because it wasn't there in the first place. Duality ain't nothing but Maya and illusion.
That's right.
You know, so yeah, that we definitely have to know though when we're using this language, being precise in the recitation, you know, and precise in the harmonics that we bring on the manifest, we have to make sure that vibration or that vibratory sequencing is on high, you know, on high, as opposed to being based in the material, because you might manifest some things, you know, in that duality, in the dealing with the mirror effect that you didn't intend to manifest.
That's right. That you
That's why
can't.
you gotta have a clean heart and a pure mind. You won't be hitting them discordant notes in the first place. Islam.
Islam.
It's all in
Oh,
the consciousness. I'd say it would be all in the consciousness.
yes, sir. If it's
One's
in there, it's
level
gonna.
of consciousness.
That's right. That's right. You know, our brother Human Thought and man, the family in there, we see y'all. You see it. Our sister Cena Ray, she giving it to him. Brother Yakub Hamid Gamma Bay on the manifest. Honors to your family. Like the sister said, chanting sage. That's right, chanting sage. You know, and then our brother Human Thought, you already know he got a grand thought to bring on the manifest. He said, I learned about sacred geometry dealing with the Merkaba. That's right. The Mer is you, and the Ka and the Ba is your soul. The flower of life. You the flower of life. Yeah, that symbol was found over there in ancient Kemet, in the pyramids too. Matter of fact, the flower of life is the symbol that's used to bring about life, so to speak. The flower of life comes from the seed of life. You know, and there's some other measures out there too, dealing with the tree of life and everything. They're all connected based upon, you know, one basic principle of oneness. That's right. So yeah, all right. Any other measures in regards to dealing with what we went over so far, Morris Ken?
Islam. Just say there's a reason why they tell you to, like in Islam, they tell you to declare your intentions before you do your prayer. And if you look at it, even in Act 7, it says, "Keep your hearts and mind pure with love, and your bodies clean with water."
That's
You know,
right.
so it's all declare the intention before you do your prayer, so that your mind is mainly focused on focused on the moment and not thinking about something totally different while you're trying to do your prayer.
That's
So,
right. Islamism. And y'all do know when Bilal, you know, a Cushite, you know, when he was called to call the prayer, and he didn't call it Allah, wouldn't he, you know, that the prayer had been opened up according to the Islamic tradition. You know, it was like Allah would say basically that the prayer wasn't valid because Bilal hadn't called the Adhan. You know, if he had no mother, and it was another Muslim that was an Arab that had actually called the Adhan, but it wasn't Bilal, so it wasn't valid. This is in their hadiths, they tell you this. So that shows you the power of the voice of our ancestors, you know, as they reach up to the great God Allah. So powerful measure.
Wow.
All right. Any other scribe have something to say before we go forward?
Islam. Well, yeah, Islam thought that was big. Praise God, something given. Yeah, talking about Bilal. Yeah, that's we used to call ourselves Bilalians, because that brother he was so pure in his presentation. You know what I mean? That it, like you say, that vibration. It's all in that, and like I was saying earlier, it's all in one's consciousness. You know what I mean? And the prophet teaches us to purify our hearts and mind. That's the only way you're going to ascend to those levels. You know what I mean? By purifying one's heart and mind and be
That's right.
reminded of who made you. Gratitude.
That's right. Keep your heart and mind pure with love, and you can heal something with that love. Yes, sir. Islam. You can't kill nothing with love. You can heal something with love, though. Islam. Well, all right. Let me see what we got here. Another portion. Once we go through this thing, like I said, this is pretty much our best friend. Just becoming more acquainted with the middle rate increment, aka hieratic. Once we able to see that and really begin to implement this in our knowledge and expressing this would bring out more of the expertise. Because we got a lot of people who swear that it's hard as ever, to read, the hieratic, but we have become very proficient. And I'm telling you, by the end of this year, like I keep saying, we're going to be way further along, compared to where we are now. And I like this one too, because it actually gives us a lot of the bilaterals. It gives you those here along with the trilaterals, so you can become more familiar with those, because the more of those we become familiar with, the less we need also those other portions of having to use the anaglyphs in this particular way. And all of this knowledge is applicable, because these are really the same measures that we are using as vibration, vibration. So I'll give you a prime example. And I had mentioned this not long ago. Let me see here. Let's see. Go to 5. Let's see. Let's see. We'll go into my measure here. This is just dealing with some of the formulas that I've been showing our family. I be telling them that, when we really go into these measures, we're dealing with Heka. And when we apply the Heka to the expression, in these different anaglyphs, we come up with grand drawings. Let's see. What in the world? Okay, it might be this one. You ain't giving me all my like it done put a limitation on my pic. What in the world they got going on there? Something ain't right there. Look like I got a limitation in the pictures. No good and well I ain't got them erased. I didn't erase them.
They got to be in there somewhere.
Yeah, it's like they ain't pulling up. Let's see. I'm gonna try it again. So that ain't never did that. You know what? It might be what I'm going through too. Let's see here. I'm gonna try this again. Look like it's running kind of slow. So they may be pulling up, but it probably just take a little minute for them to pull up. But normally they pull all up. Because I don't even see the bar. It ain't even moving yet. Let me see. Okay. Okay, let's go here. I'll go to my photos. Let's see what happens if I do this, because I may be able to. They there, because I'm hitting this and it's going into them. It just ain't letting it pull up. Maybe it take a little more time to pull them up. But here it is right here. This is a prime example of what I'm talking about. This is what I was looking for. When I had come up with this anaglyphic formula, just using the knowledge that we have, how would we demonstrate this? Because this deals with really on a high level of vibration. It's talking about, the activation of energy, electrical conductivity with exactly zero resistance. There's no limitation to be placed upon that type of energy, right? The alpha, the one and all, the divine infusion, and connectivity between the upper and the lower realm. That's what you're trying to achieve by, chanting this particular formula here. You see? So this is see we are he magic, like that. See we are basically getting into that special drawing. And this is how you tap into these different aspects of, these anaglyphs, activate the power, but that's a power that exerts itself for individuals at the will of the user. But it's the same thing if we were to do, other transliteration and bring these measures forth. And the achievement, again, is, the one being one with the one and all, divine infusion and connectivity between the lower and upper realm. This is what your incantations deal with. So, man, we get way deeper. But I just wanted to bring that to the manifest, as we go into this drawing and we go back to, these different measures so that we know the deeper insight behind this language. This is a living language. People always, they use the term dead language. Brother Mustafa Gadala, he debunked that. Our ancestors, all of our ancestors' language is living language. None of it is dead. You see? So, that's the thing we want to get into. Mashallah, we can get our family to bring forth some of their own formulas, like the one I showed you just then, dealing with the periodic table and the gematria like we demonstrate, and bring some powerful measures on the manifest. So, like I said, we want to use this document, capitalize off of it. Like I said in our last class, to become more familiar with this information. We know that there are some content in here that deal with, somewhat of a Western influence, but we have the minds to be able to separate, the wheat from the chaff, so to speak.
That's right. We got that hook and flail.
Say that again, brother.
Yeah, we got that hook and that flail.
Yeah, all is well. All is well. So yeah, we got to be able to come on up out of that demonstration and take what is basically worthy of what we demonstrate. See right here, like for example, they're expressing, the formulas right here. See, all of those are formulas. Now, some people may just look at that as just words and letters being expressed, consonantal skeletons, so forth and so on. But there is some science in these things outside of what's being defined. You see? Can't you see the math, Moors? They like algebra. Algebraic equation. That's where they really got it from. So, but yeah, this is a powerful measure right here. We were talking about that earlier, huh? The Black Land, Egypt, as they call it, Kemet, right? We were speaking on that earlier. So we want to be able to look at the heratograms, get so advanced to where we can see the word. We can look at that. Oh, so that's Kemet right there. Oh, that's okay. That's Mesu. That's Mir. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And we can do that to a certain degree. We are able to identify, but we want to get to where, we are dominating the documents, where we can close in on more words than a little, So Islam. So this is basically our drawing. We're gonna get into some of this doing the homework, and we'll get deep into this document because this is not a short document. It's 348 pages. So we'll be teaching on it until we pretty much master the essence of it. You see? So praise be to Allah. Islamism at the schism. So what I'm gonna do at this time, I'm gonna go to my Grand National Secretary of the State, and then we can get the drawing on what we just spoke on thus far, and we'll go a little further into it, when we get the homework on the manifest, so to speak, and get it back from our Moorish kin. So Islam, Grand National Secretary of the State, what have you to say?
Islam. So you're speaking about a measure more or the
just what we just brought forth. I mean, whatever
pronunciation?
Everything, whatever you want to bring forth as far as what you got out of what we was demonstrating.
All right, having already risen, giving praise and honor where due. Much gratitude to our class this evening. I'm gonna deal with the pronunciation. This has been a powerful class, Dr. Shaheed, and I appreciate you taking us through that book. Showing us how to use the tools. Didn't even see that page 56 back there. Was just piddling around on it. The front portion of the book. So this is a grand blessing. And I'm just gonna do brief pronunciation. Ein, ia, e, ah, woo, b, p, fa, mim, nun, ra, ha, ha, ka, ha, sis, sa, sha, kwa, ka, gwa, ta, sha, da, ja. Islam.
Ooh-wee. You fast.
I was writing it down and sounding it out. Praise Allah.
Ooh-wee. That's the Tahuti with the pen. Goodness gracious. Praise be to Allah. Islamism without the schism. And like I said, we'll get further into a lot of the measures and have our family bring forth their, like I said, the anaglyphic formulas and everything else. And what you think about that, Grand National Secretary of the State? Just knowing that this thing goes deeper than, just being a mere language.
Ethereally, based upon study, and I'm still striving, a grand measure, because when you were speaking in reference to the vibration and the sound, and also bringing forth the point how we definitely have to demonstrate purifying before we even attempt to do any of this, so that we're not pulling to us based upon duality or what have you. And when I was taking music, and I had run across a book that was speaking about not only focusing on the Om, in reference to being able to recognize the God within, but also the letters, the 7 letters on the music scale, how each letter had its significance, and also a healing aspect in reference to the chakras as well. So that's what it brought to mind in reference to how beautifully and wonderfully we're made. And we have so many sciences at our disposal because we are the creators and we create our own. So why not focus on what it is that we need to know how to master when it comes down to the higher aspects, as opposed to continually dealing with the cycle of birth, death, rebirth, etc., and the desires on the lower aspect. We need to focus on going within and exercising our God powers. So that was just my measure and what I was reflecting on when you were bringing these grand degrees to us, and definitely can see algebraic expressions and recognize the fact that no, you don't get to call our language a dead language because we're alive and kicking. Islam.
Islamism, powerful measure, Grand National Secretary of the State. And I have in sync with exactly what you were just saying. I actually have the musical aspect of the vocalic Egyptian language, by Brother Mustafa Gadala. Let me put this up here too for our people who may not know what we're talking about. And I'm going to go into it in a second here after I show this to our family. Let's see. says, okay. I share my screen. Okay. It's the musical aspects of the Egyptian vocalic language. And the brother, he definitely touched on what we was just speaking of. Let's see. Okay, there we go. So I'm gonna show this to our family right here. And they that way they can order it if they're able. They may even have a good preview of it here too. Because I know they do have some good previews. Yeah, this right here pretty good here. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna share my screen right now so that they can see this. So once you have this knowledge that we've been demonstrating, now you can make it applicable. You can utilize it. Whereas a lot of people don't think that you can. Get that out of there. Okay, so let's go up here to the cover. They should have the cover here. Well, they don't have the actual cover, but the actual cover is right here. That's it right there. It's kind of blurred out right there. But I'm actually in it, looking at the preview of it. But I'm pretty sure I can get a better copy of it. Yeah, right here. So that's it right there, family. By the brother Mustafa Gadala. These are the works we studied from a native-born Egyptian. You know, very sharp brother. He got more of it. He got other books. I got to order a few more. I got to order both of them books right there. So, nevertheless.
Does he have the sacred geometry on there?
No, I don't think he had that one on here. He may have, unless you seen that book recently. But no, I see. Look like they got a little. Yeah, they got some. Oh, that's just voice producing. That's a European. But they got a couple of books on here I know that I hadn't bought yet, like that Enduring Ancient Egyptian Musical System. You know, I hadn't went into that one. I got a couple of them up here. But let me go up here, back to where we were. I'm trying to see how far they go into this preview. You know. I love this part. That's one of the most powerful statements the brother made right there when he was talking about the cover. So I'm trying to see if he had this measure in here that I have in my hand, the page that I'm on actually. Yeah, this is what I got. So I can let y'all see that's one portion, but it's actually the one behind it. This one right here. Okay, so I go from there, and since it's there right here, I read it to our family. So in this particular area, dealing with this same principle we talking about, what the Grand Secretary of the State was speaking of, it says the seamless language and of music. And it says language and of music. It says rational meanings of values are naturally inherent in spoken letters. That's what we were talking about, the meanings and the values. You see, and how we was just able to deal with that formula, the anaglyphic formula I showed you a few minutes ago, you know, of the alphabet. They are in their corresponding sounds, irrespective of usage by reason of the structure of the instrument or speech, in the same way as musical values are inherent in notes of a piano. You know, in all actuality, when we looked at them numbers, we was talking about the odd and even numbers. You know, the even numbers in all actuality, you know, would be more like what we call the lower octave, you know, and then the odd number would be the higher octave in the way that we demonstrate sacred geometry and being able to tap into things around you. Because basically that sound, whatever sound that you're able to produce based upon the number one or the two, you are able to activate the things that are around you that take upon the shape that deal with that sacred symbol. For example, you know, the expression of, you know, the triangle alone dealing with wisdom, will, and love. You look at certain things around you it be made in the plant kingdom, the mineral kingdom, animal kingdom, whatever. Where you see this shape at, you are able to demonstrate strong influence through sacred geometry and Heka, chantation. So you have to study the sound along the realms of its octave, its vibration, and how it's connected to those things that are around you, and you can move mountains, so to speak. Let's just put it that way. So anyway, it says a typical letter sound value, right, rationally and not subjectively, is a natural sign via the physical audition and the sound waves of the corresponding letter production by the speech instrument. And this letter production by the speech instrument, you the speech instrument, you the one that's speaking, right? And so whatever is coming out of your consciousness, whatever image you forming in your mind, has the ability to take shape in the reality if you direct that thought properly. So it says, and therefore has a similar character. The structure of speech is comparable to the structure of the piano. It says, as inherent means of producing different musical values is sound. Not letters, but letter sounds were therefore natural signs by this account. And see, this is what our people have to understand. Not alphabets, you see, but letter sounds. So it says the Egyptians perceived language and music as being two sides of the same coin. But poetry and singing follow similar rules for musical composition. Poetry is written not only with a rhyme scheme, but also with recurring pattern of ascended or unascended syllables. Each syllable alternates between the ascended and the unascended, making a double quadruple meter and several other varieties, patterns or sets of rhythms or lengths of phrases of ancient Egyptian poems, praises, hymns, songs of all kinds, which are known to have been chanted or performed with some musical accompaniment. It says was rhythmic, pardon self, with uniform meters and structured rhyme. But it says Egyptian tonal writing system. The Egyptian language has had a natural, organized, comprehensive, coherent system for representing all qualities of its tonal aspects, which are implemented in speech, poetry, singing, and musical performances. The written forms were, it says, are composed of two primary elements, letter forms and symbols and sounds. Associated with the ancient Egyptian alphabetical letters proper are a number of complementary symbols which serve to modulate and regulate a part of the whole of their sound value. Similarly, bilateral and similarly trilateral syllables are almost always accompanied by such signs. And I just showed you that when I was talking earlier about the formulas in the Poe document, right? It says such signs used in this way are called phonetic complements. As noted by all Egyptologists, the complete absence of phonetic complements is uncommon. So this is a powerful demonstration. They go into many expressions, but they stop right there pretty much. And yeah, it don't get no plainer than that. That's what we're looking at, and being able to achieve, a mastery in that expression. And we begin to unlock the ethers as a result of that. Some of us as a people have no idea on how deep this thing get when we get into these formulas, and vibrations. And we definitely lost the ability to demonstrate it and activate the ethers. And that's why ones feel like their prayers ain't being answered. The great God ain't heard them. He ain't there. All type of foolishness you hear people saying, well, I don't have that experience. Every time I speak, it may not have them right there on the spot, but the great God Allah let me know that he hear me. Like I said, I can't speak for nobody else, but it's because I put my drive solely in dependency on the great God. Nothing else out front. But if you got any whim of doubt, in your mind. You talking to the Creator, just like you try to deal with others. If you try to deal with the greater God, Allah, how you dealing with your average brother and sister, you're gonna be burnt up from the start. You go to the great God talking about you need some aid and assistance, but you got it all figured out in the back of your mind. It don't work like that right now. You see, if you got it all figured out, then you do it. Then what you calling me for? That's how the great God Allah looking at it. If you think you know so much, and I'm the one that put that little pea brain intellect you got up in there, then I'm gonna stand back and let you do what you do then, and see how far you get along the way in doing it your own way. So that's how the great God Allah drive us, by teaching us and inspiring us, through our own imperfections in a lot of cases. So Islam, I just wanted to say that, but we open up the floor now to our scribes.
Islam.
Islam, Sister Curta Bay, Dendra Nia Curta Bay.
Islam, like the goddess said. This has been a powerful, powerful class this morning. I have thoroughly enjoyed myself. And when you was talking, showing us about the odds and the even numbers, I'm like, man, wow, I loved it. How you talked about the even numbers, kind of represents the lower octaves, and higher numbers would represent the higher octaves, are basically representing like the higher self. And then you also mentioned about how they say our language is dead. And when you said that, I thought about, I say, how can you say our language is dead when we don't even die? So how you gonna say we got a dead language? Our language is dead. We don't die. We don't die, so our language is not dead. And even in and I thought about how, yeah, they tried to bury us in that grave, but the holy prophet and our chairman, with the writing of the zooming of a nation, yeah, you tried to bury us. You thought you had killed us. You thought we was buried 6 feet under in that grave. But I tell you what, we are alive now. We the prophet and the chairman and zoomed us up out of that grave, and we are alive. And I know they standing back now. Oh, they're alive. They're alive. Yes, we are. We back now. And we got the truth, and we coming back into who we are. And that's what we are all about, even right now, doing these classes. And last but not least, when we talking about the vibrations, and I tell you, I'm just so excited about this, because all of this I used to teach when I was in the church, but I could not put my finger on it. I couldn't make it click. But now I see it now. It's so powerful. And when you talked about the vibrations, and I thought about how when Yehoshua, when he, I think it was Peter, when he was walking on the water, and they were saying, wow, what manner of man is this? He even speak to the winds, and the winds obey. That's because he had that vibration coming from him. Oh, Dr. Shahi, you got me fired up over here. I tell you, I can go on and on. This is so powerful, and it's just an honor to be in this class. It's an honor for me. And I praise the great God Allah. If I had 1,000 tongues, I couldn't praise him enough for bringing me into this Moorish American government, where I can get these powerful teachings, where I can get the truth. Here in this Moorish American government, we teach the truth. You don't try to hide nothing from us. You don't try to keep nothing from us. Try to have secret stuff, and I can't learn it right now. We don't do that here. Oh man, you can see I'm excited. So gratitude for this wonderful, powerful class. Gratitude, Islam, God, man, for letting me share. Peace and love.
Islam and peace and love. Yeah, no, we gonna put it out there. We keep telling our people they ain't got no business or reason trying to keep no secret. we keep it sacred. And if the mind ain't ready to receive it, it ain't gonna accept it. And that's just how it go. But yeah, we put it out there for our people. There were time when the ancestors would put the young seeds in front, of a particular deity, a Neteru, and they cultivated their minds. Wherever they look, where the first place they turn their head, that's where they would put them at. If they turn their head toward Alsa, then they'll put them at the feet of Alsa. And whoever the Neteru that they turn toward, basically, they would basically be that's where their mastery would come through. That's the ancestor that would speak through them. So yeah, this is powerful. It don't get no plainer than this. Islam. They don't know what they missing. They'll get it though. By the time they catch up though, we'll be a few cycle ages ahead. Islam. All right. Next scribe. Islam, brother Bati Bey.
Islam. One of the things when you were talking about putting the formulas together, it brought to mind to ask: is there a ancient periodic table that chemic or Kemetic periodic table?
No. I would actually probably say in most cases it's probably the same one you're using. They just calling it by a different name.
Yeah, because I was
good things to do research into. But the periodic table dealing with Kemet will be a representation of different expressions of the Neteru.
It would be, yeah. Islam. Because I was looking at this Mendeleev's, Dimitri and Mendeleev's periodic table, which it got the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes it. And what it was crazy is if you're looking at Mustafa Gadala's book, you was talking about coming up with our own formulas. When you look at the Mustafa Gadala's book and the numbers that are in sequence with the letters, that it probably, if you put it side by side with this Dmitry Mendeleev's periodic table, it probably will go hand in hand.
Islamism. Yeah, a couple of them. I'm pretty sure universally, because mathematics are universal.
Islam.
So if they have a number value, then you basically can probably find them anywhere.
Yeah, like what was that that exercise you had us do when we first started, where we had to look at the number, the atomic number, and related to
geometry.
It was on a periodic table though.
Yeah, it's geometry. Yeah, we were using the periodic table. Just same thing I did in the picture that I showed a few minutes ago.
Islam.
That's how we doing it with the periodic table, because those are the elements. They deal with science, you know what I mean? And so that's why I tell one the true meaning of the anaglyph is rooted in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Only thing it is coming from our ancestors. Go ahead, brother.
No, I'll say this is actually for me, it's like revisiting but a new revelation at the same time.
Oh yeah, no problem. Yes, sir. It's definitely there though. No doubt about it. If we go and we look deep into the information, because we had another chart we did before that. That's just on one particular droid. Remember on the other chart, let me see if I can pull it up real quick. I know I'm going to hit it right here. Perfect. This is one of the first ones I did more before this, but I went deeper when I started doing this way, and I'm gonna make a few more. That's I get a drawing out of being able to pull these measures on the manifest. Like this one here. You can see the formula here. Remember, they always tell you it's a certain way that you have to say the name. And they say, well, this is Yod Hey Wav Hey, right?
Islam.
Back was It's actually Hofi, 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 Hofia, Hofiawa. You know what I mean? Hofiawa.
which means that if you say it like I understand,
That's the
take the
committee.
elements of oxygen, take that to control the winds, take the elements of oxygen and hydrogen and
There you go. Now you see it.
Islam.
So you tapping into the God code, the DNA. You know, this is a vibration to deal with healing in the body. You see, hair, like that. And you just put it in the form of a vibration, anaglyphic formula. You know, this is dealing with what? Tapping into the eternity of the four elemental gods in the company of Tehuditha. You know, symbol is dealing with the rejoicing. You know, this is the position that you in while you reciting that demonstration. You know, and yeah, powerful measure. You know, that
Islam.
invoke, the ancestors in the extent where it goes back to a great but infinite, indefinite number, so to speak, infinite and indefinite. You know, the God of hundreds of thousands of years is who you calling on. Masterminds able to trace themselves back, and thus they know Islam.
Islam. Gratitude.
Yeah, so it's definitely, power when we go into the essence of those anaglyphic forms. Like I said, the head, and the full head, yeah, head, full head, yeah, you know. But you head, full, start off with your own, and then get deep into it, and you know, you start speaking to them elements, brother. Speaking to them elements within the self, God eternal within the body. Then you can direct the course. You can exert that power at the will of your use. Islam. All right. Brother Marvin Applebay, you have a measure you like to bring forth?
Islam, gratitude. Um, I just want to say, very powerful class, very powerful class, and it has say re say energized me. You know what I mean? You know, you have re-sparked my say interest, so to speak. Not that I lost interest, but you know, you've rejuvenated my um, say not desire, just rejuvenated my whole desire to um, get to the bottom of what has happened to our language, to our history. You know what I mean? Because this is what we're doing. We're going back into our language. We bypassing or maneuvering around all of those, say, traps. You know, all those misdirections that the European put in, all those ways how they hid our knowledge, wisdom, understanding. But we are going to have to go within our own self. You know what I mean? This is what Prophet brought us. I mean, and this is another expression of it. And I'm just so grateful for being here, being a part of this process, because and it's necessary. I mean, so this is for the young and the yet unborn, because when they come on the scene, and I can see it in the young people. You know what I mean? I mean, not just young people, but the babies. I mean, I can see they're looking at everything. You know what I mean? As they walk by me, they're always looking. You know what I mean? While the parents they looking over here and over there. I mean, they looking. So we know that we have to be prepared for when they get to a level to where they can contribute. And I just want to say gratitude, God, man, for allowing me to speak. This is on the piece.
And gratitude for that measure. Well, we see, brother, human thought. Our Moorish kin down there, man, that one be coming forward with some powerful demonstration. Say your words are spirit. Ain't nothing dead about our language. You keep it plain, don't it?
I like the way he put that ain't. That's what I say. Ain't. I.
Mhm.
That's good. That's good. I like that.
Mhm.
Islam. Powerful class.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and Islam guy, man, if I may,
Yeah, go ahead.
gratitude. Yeah, talking about that dead language. Of course, they wanted to say it was dead because they thought they had buried it. You know what I mean? But we're here to prove them otherwise. That's
That's
all I want.
right.
Gratitude, God.
Gratitude. Islamism without the schism. And like we were demonstrating last night, and our brother made it an emphasis. Human thought say, yeah, our Moorish rights. The passage is the 12-step ladder. That's exactly what we would demonstrate. So ones is on it. So praise be to Allah, Islamism without the schism. It's definitely been a grand class just dealing with the sounds. We got a lot to introduce to our family and bring forth. So the best is yet to come. Stay tuned in, family. Want to give honors to everybody out here that was here with us. All of you who showed up and gave your portion. The brother Human Thought, Raheem Shamori, Sister Sina Renee, uh, Yaqub Hamid Gamma Bay, Sister Niambi, always showing up. Honest to you, goddess and queen. Yeah, Facebook user, Islam. Yep. So gratitude. At this time, we're gonna give it to our Grand National Secretary of the state of South Carolina. Islam, goddess and queen. Be
Is
God.
is
Islam.
Islam family. Well, it's that time. January the 15th, 1929. A warning from the prophet to be read at every meeting. I hereby inform all citizens that they must end all radical agitating speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any citizen or group of citizens who hold malicious feelings toward the government or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where the prophet found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the government is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the government. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways by the order of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. A holy covenant of the Asiatic nations. Ye are the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breast of one mother have given you suck. Let the bonds of affection therefore unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. If thy brother is in adversity, assist him. Is thy sister is in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortunes of thy father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all in your love to each other. Islam, Islam, Islam. This meeting is officially adjourned according to Act 2. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Go in peace, Moors. Islam. Grand class, great class.
Grand class, grand class.
Great class. Gratitude. Peace and love, Lord Ken.
Islam, great class, beautiful.
Gratitude, Dr.
Love
Shahi.
Islamism.
Peace and love.
Love.
Islam.
Islam.
Your family, we love you with All love and divinity. Goodness gracious.
Islam.
Praise
Islam.
the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah.
Praise the Lord. We got one of our family trying to tune in right here. I see he said he was trying to reach us. So I'm gonna see briefly. Gamma Bay, if you can hit that link, family. So the Moorish King can hear from you real quick. You know, we got some of our Moorish King trying to tune in, man. Goodness gracious.
All right now.
Let's see what our brother, if you can hit that link, Gamma Bay. If you want to come in, you show up, I'll get you right in here in this queue.
Oh, he's trying to call in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we don't have a phone number in the call in on this one here.
Right.
Okay, we got human thought, gratitude to your family, gratitude, Sister Cena Renee. It's long. I wonder is our family okay? Look, I think they might have just got up here. Let me see. I think they're in the queue real quick. There you go. Yeah, let me get this up here. There you go. It's long. All right, you in here, family? We got you in here.
Brother?
Yeah, we can hear you, grand man. Go ahead.
Islam, peace, peace, peace. I give all honors to the prophet.
We got you in here. Hold up, let me mute.
The measure and the measure within you.
Let me mute my family out because somebody, I think that's in Brother Bati Bay background. Go ahead, brother. There you go.
So gratitude in Islam to Allah and Islam to you for the measure of Allah within you.
Islam.
Peace, peace, peace.
Peace and love, grand man. What have you to say about the class?
Islam.
Okay, hold up. I think our brother.
Damn, he can't hear.
Yeah, I think his mic is muted. We can't hear you if you're speaking, good brother. Your mic went out. Unless that's all he had to bring forth. That might have been all the brother was
Yeah, that
trying
might
to
have been all he had to say.
Okay, that's all good and well. Well, yeah, that's all good. If that's all our brother wanted to say, yeah. Well, you anytime we on here, brother, and we drop that link, you're definitely welcome. You know, that's what we want to hear. We want to hear our people come forth and give us their portion. So gratitude, good brother. You welcome here. Our casa, you casa. Islam. Gratitude.
That's the whole world.
That's right. So, well, peace and love. We're going to close this demonstration on out. Gratitude. All right, see y'all more in Sunday school.